Welcome back to Lamb's Cryptoverse. Today we're going to do something different. We're going to use a KISS method. That's keep it simple, stupid. Remember that way back when Bill Clinton was running for president? That's what he used. That's what I'm going to talk about. There are many people, many commentators talking about Ethereum, of course, the merge. The merge, the merge, the merge. But what does that mean and what are the implications? What you hear a lot is from an economist or weatherman's point of view. The weatherman will say one thing and they're not really sure, and then something else happens. The economist will say, I think this is going to happen, but I also think that's going to happen. So what I'm going to do is use the KISS method and keep it simple. And I'm going to focus on Ethereum's merge and actually tell you what it's going to mean for Ethereum. So let's get started. And I'm going to use layman's terms. Here's an example. The merge. People hear the merge and you just think, oh, that's the name of Ethereum's new technology. Actually, the word merge actually has a meaning. It comes from the use of a parallel network. So when Ethereum was using the proof of work consensus, they had that chain. And at the same time, they were doing a lot of testing. They wanted to make sure this works. So they used a parallel chain that was running simultaneously. That's why they call it the merge, because they merged the two together on September 15th. And that chain, that other chain, used to be called the beacon chain. And the new Ethereum network was called ETH 2.0. Now they got rid of that. There's no ETH 1 and 2, it's just ETH. So let's get that straight. So what does this merge mean? The biggest deal about the merge is that it reduces energy, basically, mostly electricity, by 99.9%. So it reduces electricity substantially in energy use compared to, of course, Bitcoin, which is an energy hog. It uses as much energy as a country. But the problem is, everyone's saying, this is a great thing. And it is a great thing for Ethereum that this merge occurred, because there were a lot of technical difficulties and hurdles that had to jump in order to accomplish this. But here's the thing. There's a few issues with Ethereum, and here's where I'm going to use my keep it simple method. Stupid, I should say. The KISS method. The key takeaway before I go forward is this. Ethereum is one of the best projects out there. And I think institutions are going to love Ethereum for many reasons. Number one, it's got a big market cap. If the market cap's not big enough, institutions are not going to invest in it because, there's no liquidity, right? And also there's going to be a nice chunky staking yield. Now, I'm hearing all these staking yields from all over the place. Some people say it's going to be 5%, some say 10%. Here's what's going to happen most likely. The existing staking yield is about 3%. It's probably going to double, almost double, to 5.5%, maybe 6%. Some people are saying 10%. No way. It just doesn't make sense. And also, think about it. Rao Powell from Real Vision said something interesting, that the Ethereum staking yield is going to be the new benchmark for risk and the way we look at treasury bonds, right? So we look at the 10-year treasury and we look at a spread of that, right? We compare like a high yield spread with the 10-year treasury or the 5-year treasury note to figure out what kind of risk there is for a high yield bond. Well, if you're doing the same thing for blockchains and you're looking at risk, obviously Ethereum is the least risky DeFi chain, layer 1 chain out there. So it's not going to have a 10% yield, right? Just think of it. It defies common sense. It's going to have the lowest yield. So my prediction is that it's going to have, or at least start with a 5.5 to 6% yield and then probably decline. But still, it's going to be enough to attract institutions. But I want to go back to my KISS method. What's the key takeaway? The key takeaway is, number one, Ethereum is creme de la creme, and it's here to stay. But here's the deal. Here's my other huge takeaway. Ethereum will not be the dominant chain. And here's why. Now, number one, and there's many reasons. These are just the ones off the top of my head. Number one, it took many years for them to upgrade to the proof of stake. And there's many more upgrades that are going to be occurring. So these upgrades are going to take a long time. And by that time, the other 19,000 other chains are going to be nipping at the heels. And think about it. There are about 19,000 other projects, and that's as of today. But if the crypto market turns up, let's say interest rates all of a sudden start declining again, and there's liquidity all over the place. What would happen is there would be more funding and more ICOs going on in the crypto market. There would be billions of dollars going back into crypto. And then that would create even more chains, maybe another 1,000, 2,000, you name it. And so my point is this, that Ethereum's market share, if you're looking at total value locked from DeFi Llama, it was 95% in 2020. It declined sharply down to about 50%. And then it jumped a little bit to 55%. It jumped when Terra Luna went bust, basically. So it captured that market share from the Terra Luna project. But here's the deal. The TVL is declining too fast. I don't even think this is like the automobile industry. Everyone's saying that Tesla is going to lose their market share. I can tell you this. Tesla is losing their market share at a slower rate than Ethereum. I think Tesla is going to remain the 600-pound gorilla, right? It's gonna stay up there, and I can tell you why. In California, they've got about 50% market share, even though there are about 25 large car companies out there, and there's maybe who knows how many, maybe 1,000 small electric vehicle companies out there. Tesla still maintaining its market share. Like I said, it's 50% in California. I'm not sure what it is in the United States, but its market share, it's declining, but it's declining at a slow rate that you can actually calculate and predict. Ethereum is not like that. It's got too many needs for upgrades. By the time they're done with all these upgrades, there's going to be another 1,000 chains out there. And I'm going to look at my notes here. I'm going to read you some of the upgrades that we have. So like I said, on September 15th, we finished the merge. But then, remember, after the merge was recently completed, Ethereum is not, I repeat, it's not the same or as good as the other competing Ethereum killers. I'll just name you a few. Avalanche, Solana, Phantom. I mean, there's so many out there. There's another big one, Near Protocol. There's so many of these. And there's some smaller ones that are equally as good, like Elrond. People don't talk about Elrond, but Elrond and Harmony are two smaller projects that are quite capable. So going back to what I was saying, the many upgrades, and these upgrades take a long time to execute. So after the merge, we've got the Surge. And that's, this reminds me of Greek, the way they're using Greek letters. So they're using the S for speed, the Surge. The S in Surge is for speed. They're going to increase TPS, transactions per second, from 15 to 100,000. That's going to be due to sharding. But remember, there are other chains that already have sharding. And then there's the Verge, the V, and that's going to lower validator requirements. So you can have more validators that are helping keep the network secure. But again, there are many layer ones that are already doing this. So they're already working to do this. Like Near Protocol only has 130 validators, but they've got a program to substantially increase that validator count. And then another upgrade is called the Purge. And the Purge is where they lower the requirement for stored data. So they're going to be trying to delete and purge the old data. And last but not least is what Vitalik calls the other fun stuff. And this is working on many things. I don't even know what they are. One of them is quantum resistance, but there's so many. So here's the deal. trying to find my notes here. So basically, there's a lot going on. And so I told you a few of them. So what's this going to do to layer 2s? Layer 2s are going to remain vital because the layer 1 solution upgrade has not become competitive with these generation 2 and going forward generation 3 layer 1s. And what do I mean by that? Gas fees, they're going to remain high and the speed's going to remain slow. So you're still going to need other layer 2 solutions like rollups and Polygon/Matic. You're still going to need that. And so let me just go over my notes. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Risk. I wanted to talk to you about risk. Ethereum is going to be the lowest risk chain out there, right? And I'm not talking about Bitcoin. I'm talking about a layer 1 chain. So not a store of value, but DeFi chains, for example. There's still going to be risks out there, and people don't understand this. Remember, when you're getting over 3%, when you're getting over the treasury yield, whether that's a short-term yield or the long-term yield, let's just call it 3%. When you're making more than 3%, you're getting a risk, and whether you know it or not. And people don't talk about risk in crypto. I think because they got the eyes closed. And that's why we had all these problems with Terra Luna and with Lido. There was a lot of rehypothecation, right, where people were using the same collateral and lending and borrowing off of that. So there's a lot of risk. And the lowest risk is for staking, for the proof of stake network, proof of stake consensus. Even though that's low risk, I'm going to talk to you about some risks that you can get even in Ethereum protocol. The first one is market risk. And market risk, as you know, is the movement of an asset price, I should say. Then there's a risk of loss or theft. And you can get that from a number of means, from your losing the private keys, not worrying about security. You can get an outside of attack on a wallet. An exchange can get attacked if you're maybe using Coinbase for staking. There's a risk through using Coinbase. That's multiple risk, right? Because first of all, it's a custody risk. And then there's a risk that Coinbase can get hacked. And then there's slashing risk, that the validators could get slashed. And when you get slashed, you get a risk, you get a loss, a reduction of staking rewards. And there's also a cost, of course. When you stake, when you delegate the staking process, there's a cost to that. So I think I talked about everything. I don't want to sound too bearish. I think that long term, this merge has proven that the Ethereum development team led by Vitalik Buterin is the best of breed in the crypto world. I mean, I also think that Gavin Wood is up there over at Polkadot. I think Polkadot is one of the best, at least layer 0 chains out there. But otherwise, I think Ethereum is creme de la creme. And also, Ethereum is going to be less inflationary than Polkadot and Avalanche and many other proof of stake projects out there. So I think, not to sound too negative, I think there's a lot of good things going on for Ethereum. And of course, if you're like me, I'm an ESG/SRI investor. I'm very happy about seeing the immediate reduction in energy use by 99.9%. But of course, there's some negatives. And I mentioned this already. Number one, there's going to be a million other piranhas nipping at Ethereum's heels. Number two, I hate to say this, but the proof of stake consensus is going to create more centralization of power. And that's going to have a few issues. Number one, if you centralize, you can get hacked easily. But the other issue is that SEC can say now that Ethereum is really like a new project. And they can say now that Ethereum is a security. Now remember, it was Jay Powell that said, the previous SEC chief, he said that Bitcoin and Ethereum were not securities. But I think that's off the table. I think the only project protocol that is not a security is Bitcoin, and that's it. So Ethereum may be considered a security. And last but not least is the proof of stake security in terms of consensus. We all know about that, what's it called, Byzantine fault tolerance. That happens when someone takes over 51% in a network. But I think now Ethereum is less secure. I read somewhere that it's not 51% now. You need 33% of the network to capture it. And I think a good place to look, and you can see my other video down below. You can click on it. It's called Nakamoto coefficient, where I explain it. And the Nakamoto coefficient basically tells you how many validators are needed to take over the network. So I think that's going to be the important number to look at. So in conclusion, I think the merge has been a raving success, but you cannot put all your eggs in one basket. You need to diversify by investing in other protocols like Avalanche, Phantom, Polkadot, Cosmos, you name it. Well, thank you all for listening to Lamb's Cryptoverse, and please like us. Bye.